Hi, everyone. Hello there. You might realize that this episode is in a different location. We are in Brussels for this episode of Game for Thought. My name is Ali Weiss. I am the ethics coordinator at Ouest Digital Arts and Entertainment in Kortrijk. It's a university college focused on game design, game development, and also visual effects and film. I am at Bozar, the Center of Fine Arts in Brussels, and I'm very, very honored to be joined with Emma from the Bozar team. We decided to do kind of a crossover episode for this episode of Game for Thought because there's a very exciting event taking place tonight. You can probably, hopefully, see some posters in the background about the event taking place tonight, Bozar Arcade. And this is a moment for Bozar, the Center for Fine Arts in Brussels, to include games as also an art form. Every edition, you guys pick a different theme as well for the exhibition of Bozar Arcade. So I'm very enthusiastic about tonight's edition. But first, Emma, welcome. Thank you for having me here also.
Welcome. Welcome
Thank
to
you.
Bozar. Welcome to Brussels. It's National Strike Day, actually. So
it is.
I know it was a bit of a hassle to get here, but thanks for making it.
It's a pleasure.
So the Center for Fine Arts in Bozar is actually not a museum. That's a really important one, actually. We're a center, not house. And that gives us actually quite a lot of freedom in our programming. Mm-hmm. And I myself, I'm Emma Dumartheray. It's a Swiss name, but I am French and English. Very complex identity, but
it's a very cool name.
We won't get there. But yeah, Emma Dumartheray, and I work as Exhibitions and Bozar Digital Coordinator here. So actually, I've been here for 7 years in Bozar, and I've had multiple missions in the house, and for the past 4 years I've been in charge of bringing digital culture in Bozar, basically, and namely in the exhibitions field, but also cinema. I mean, we can talk about it a bit in depth later, but yeah, the idea is to bring kind of more digital arts in the house, and yeah, video games is part of it. So very excited to open tonight, 14th of October, the new edition of Bozar Arcades, the 4th edition of Bozar Arcades.
I'm curious to hear actually how Bozar Arcade started. How did it come to fruition? Were there any challenges or kind of lessons learned along the way? Because oftentimes when you think about like centers for fine arts, you think about the more traditional art forms and maybe not so much about games, maybe not so much about digital forms. So tell me a bit about the experience.
Yeah, that comes with actually a whole kind of definition, indeed, of what Bozar is as an art center. And if we go back a little bit to the history of the place where we are today, Bozar, actually, it was built in 1928.
Wow.
So we're soon celebrating the 100 years of Bozar. And actually, from the start, it was built by Victor Horta, a famous Belgian architect, who really designed it from the start as a multidisciplinary art center. And each of the rooms actually had a kind of dedicated discipline, artistic discipline, attached to it. So from the start, it was supposed to be a place welcoming all forms of art. There was the sculpture hall, the classical chamber music hall, and then with the years, the cinema hall, up until today being a place where you can find music, exhibitions, film screenings, but also talks, debates. That's a really important part of the program, and also performances, live art, and digital practices. So actually, it started in 2017. The idea to incorporate in the house digital arts and actually also kind of art and science practices. And for a few years, we were a bit niche, I would say, in what we were doing. It was exhibitions, it was conferences, but the audience was really kind of small, and we were struggling a little bit to get more and more visibility. And with the new director, Christoph Slagmulder, who arrived in 2023, we decided to kind of rethink it a little bit and focus really on, okay, what are artists doing today with digital tools, with in digital practices.
Right.
So we started to kind of think, okay, let's, have a thought of what could bring audiences and show what contemporary artists are doing. And that's when we started to look into, the history of digital arts and kind of, and actually think of what is interesting in the field. And what we thought is that this aspect of interactivity is kind of one of the most important aspects, I would say, of digital art.
Right.
Because there are, artists who make digital paintings, but what we found interesting for the Bozar audience as well, and more, hopefully, is to go into really, okay, what is interesting in the interactive field, in interactive arts field. And we very rapidly arrived to video game making, actually. And we realized that there's a whole scene of independent gamers and independent game makers. So that's when we thought, okay, let's maybe get into that. Also knowing that it's a massive industry, and that as is, in the cinema industry and also, big contemporary art sector, there are some interesting independently made things that we want to highlight as an art center. So that's when we launched in February 24, the first edition of Bozar Arcade, a place dedicated to independent video game making in Bozar.
Well,
that was a bit long, sorry.
Hey,
we started in 28, right?
But I think what you've been able to do in the past few years, and the ability also for you at Bozar to reach a new audience with this is really powerful. And I think that you are so right in the fact that games can allow you to have such an immersive experience with art, and different forms of art. And it's also a medium in which games give you the agency to really immerse yourself in that world, in a way that traditional art forms lack that sort of agency. They're incredible, they're wonderful, but I think that's what makes games and digital spaces so interesting.
I know. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I have a training in history of art. Actually, I have a master's in history of art. So I mean, my training was really classical art forms, but I went into kind of being interested in contemporary practices at some point, and very quickly I arrived to digital tools that that artists are using, and this question of interactivity I find really interesting, because how do we engage today with an audience, and don't get me wrong, I love, classical exhibitions. I go all the time to the museum.
Me too.
But it has to be complementary, it's not be about replacing, the whole of Bozar's program by it, not at all. It's really just kind of adding a little bit of digital culture, because this is what we're living in as well.
Right. It's also like kind of the result of a curiosity as well. This is, for a lot of people, really new technologies, and these are new ways of digitally telling stories in a way that before wasn't possible.
Absolutely.
So it's indeed, as you say, not replacing something, but kind of delving into a different area of art and storytelling from a place of curiosity.
Yeah, and I think the really strong point is also, you know, how different disciplines are embedded in the making of a video game. Like the importance of music is so interesting.
Indeed.
Yeah, and we had a few ones here already that really have give a special place to music in the game. And it's just kind of a whole, as you were saying, experience, and that's what interests us.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about tonight's Bozar Arcade. So it's urban playgrounds. Tell me a little bit about the theme and what guests can expect.
So the idea was to, from the start, kind of have a echo of the Bozar program, the Bozar artistic season in Bozar Arcade. So not to be, again, on a little island somewhere where the public just enters the room and is a bit like, what is this?
Right.
But to have some kind of coherency in what we propose. So from the start, we made some kind of thematic links with another event or another festival or another exhibition happening in Bozar at the same time. We had the topic, for example, of love last year, love and friendship, echoing a really big exhibition on artistic artists, talking about love. So that was really good as a theme as well, because it's super wide.
Right.
And we had another topic in spring about kind of self-representation in video game, echoing an exhibition about Black artists.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. And this edition opening tonight is about architecture. I mean, it's about, let's say, world building.
Right.
Because we're opening at the same time an exhibition on architects. We have twice a year an architecture exhibition in Bozar. And this one is about a Brussels-based architect studio. And they have been inspiring us to, you know, dive into the topic of, okay, what it is, what is building, but in the digital field. And again, like quickly, the topic of constructing, building, world building in relation to video games is completely natural again, because, you know, it's a place where you can build stuff. So that was our starting point to select 5 games that all kind of resonated with the topic of world building.
I think it's so great that we're collaborating in this podcast, because this is also what the Game for Thought podcast is about. It's what I feel really passionate about in my work, is that sure, games are really fun and they're a really enjoyable experience, but they touch on such important themes and topics, like, for example, love and relationships and self-confidence and kind of like self-identity. And we can actually learn so much from games and the way that people interact with digital worlds, digital societies. And I think it's great that at Bozar you are highlighting these themes and presenting games not just as an entertainment tool, but also as a means to further explore yourself and further explore society around you.
I can also say a word about like the space that the physical space that we've built in Bozar for that, because it's also, as you were saying, kind of about creating connections as well. And you know, because you can select games and, for example, we could have, you know, a blog, a Bozar blog, like the 5 top video games we would recommend to play this month.
Yeah.
But we decided to actually make it in Bozar, in a physical space, because we want people to connect here. And, you know, we want to be a place where people discover video games they don't know, interesting video games that have a certain ethic that is interesting to us, that are for us recognized as independently made, that have an interesting aesthetic, and that people can play together. That's a really important one.
Right.
We really made this space with, you know, a bit of a horizontal idea of, you can just sit there, you can just watch someone play. I have to say, I love watching people play. It's
Me
stupid,
too.
but it's
I'm
just
actually
nice.
very bad at games. I'm a horrible video game player, but same. I love watching people interact in that way with each other.
And how we've made it is that basically if you play one of the video games, one or two, actually three of them in the space are projected on big big screens, and you've really got space around to just watch the other one play. And what we've seen in previous edition is really these kind of nice connection that it makes, and intergenerational as well, because the Bozar audience is very wide, and we wanted a space where all different generations could meet as well. And we saw some grandparents being there with their kids, and well, not their kids, with their
grandkids.
I lost the word.
There we go. We're cooking with gas now.
With their grandkids, just really getting to know each other in another way. And, the grandparents reaching out a bit to their grandkids, being like, oh, that's what you're doing. And the grandkids being like, yeah, it's actually this. And yeah. Yeah.
And then the level of understanding and kind of empathy for actually people who are really into playing games and engaging, because all different people from all different generations here at Bozar can experience what games are. And indeed, as we said earlier, that you can learn things from games. It's not only just for entertainment purposes, but you take away something. I think that's really special. And I think it's also really special how you've linked all of these Bozar Arcade exhibitions with something that's currently going on at Bozar. Indeed, I think it creates a very cohesive kind of line in which, okay, you've seen some artworks that have to do with this theme, you've experienced this, now here's a digital space where you can explore this topic or theme in a new way.
And it also gives us kind of a key to select games, because there are millions made in the world, we need a kind of selection process, and we've that was also a way to say, okay, we'll bring it down to certain themes. That's already one criteria, and then we've published as well a kind of manifesto, Bozar Arcade manifesto, where we kind of declare in, it's not so formal, but still, it's on our website. Yes, we declare that. It's in 10 points, and basically we try to define a bit what we consider a video game worthy to be in a museum setting.
Ah, okay. How cool.
Yeah. So one of the few points is, we don't want any violence. We want to promote diversity in video game making. We don't really value the winning or losing parts of a game. We really more value the journey, the experience of the audience. This is, of course, it doesn't mean that we don't value games that have a winning or losing aspect. It's more like what would really for us fit in our Bozar Arcade concept, and the idea is to also try to be able to welcome all skill levels, and it's not been easy, because there are some really beautiful games that are boring or very complicated. There are some very easy games that are there's a bit of everything. So we also try to work with experts in the field. We've worked with Isabelle Arvers, who's an artist and kind of game curator, and also Julien Anard, who's quite famous in the francophone part of Belgium, rather. He's been working with video games as a kind of pedagogical tool for some years. And also we worked with an artist, a visual digital art artist, Laurent Mba. Voilà, we're trying to kind of surround ourselves, that was the word I was looking for, surround ourselves by, people who bring different perspectives.
Yeah. What is to come After this edition from Bozar Arcade, are you planning new exhibitions? Are you thinking of themes to come for the next year?
Yeah. Next theme is actually opening in March 26th, and we're going to work around beauty. Physical beauty. Because, again, we have a big exhibition around beauty, physical beauty, and how it evolved since like the 70s to today, let's say, and how our art is depicting it, and how beauty standards have really constrained us in how we see beauty. And the idea is that this time we're inside the exhibition circuit. So we'll be at the end of the exhibition circuit, parcours. And yeah, the idea is to get more and more audience there again. And yeah, select 4 or 5 video games. We have a few in mind already, talking about beauty, but in a more like in a conceptual way as well. Like we don't want to be showing only makeup games, you know.
Indeed, exactly.
Although there are some good ones.
There definitely are.
But yeah.
But in kind of more of a conceptual way that leads people to contemplate the theme.
For example, we have a game in mind that talks about getting old.
Okay.
Which is actually, you know, an interesting topic that we don't talk about so much. But how like elderly people are, you know, considered. I mean, an elderly body is just not considered in the current beauty standards.
Right.
So yeah, just kind of reflecting a little bit on societal topics linked to beauty. So if you have any proposals as well of games,
let us know.
Yeah.
If you have any beauty-related games that either talk about standards of beauty in today's society, etc., let us know, and I'll send them to Emma.
Yeah, perfect. Do that.
It's a deal for everybody. I'm very excited. So thank you so much, Emma, for talking to me about Bozar, about Bozar Arcade. I soon will have 3 of the artists and developers coming in, Adam Clarke, Fernando Ramallo, and also Cosmographik, to discuss their games that they will be exhibiting tonight as part of Bozar Arcade Urban Playgrounds.
So we'll be open from Thursday to Sunday until the 4th of January. During the weekend, there is a host in the space that really kind of accompanies the visitors in exploring the games. And you can get a ticket for €6 just for Bozar Arcade, but it's free if you're under 18. And it's free if you get a ticket for any other exhibition happening at the same time in Bozar.
Thank you so much, Emma. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you. I'm such a fan of what Bozar is doing, what it's done before, and also Bozar Arcade. I think it's an amazing way to combine fine arts and different kinds of very relevant societal topics with games.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, Ali, and for joining, you know, this journey.
It is a pleasure. Thank you so much. And
Thanks.
We will be back with one of the artists. Stay tuned. We are back. And now I am joined with Cosmographik.
Hello.
Is your name, is your stage name.
Yeah, my nickname, my internet name. I don't know how to say, but I chose that name maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
My real name is Theo Fuentes. I'm from France, Paris. And I did some studies in graphic design, print design, and video game. And I'm here today to talk about Vandals, a game that is exhibited in Bozar.
Amazing. So Vandals is a game that you made that is part of today's exhibition, Bozar Arcade Urban Playgrounds. Thank you so much for joining us here, Theo. It's a pleasure to be here and chat to you about your work.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm just curious to get to know you a little bit. How did you end up in the game space? Was it by accident? Was it something that you really intended to do? Tell me a little bit about your games journey.
I never intended to do that, I think. Maybe it's a little accident, but I think I always was in love with the making of video games. I was really interested into how do you create video games 15 years ago. 15 years ago, you had like a really different playground to make games. A lot of people were using Flash, for example. Unity was just starting. So at that time, I was really focused on graphic design and street art and motion design, basically. That was my job at that time. And I was a bit bored by this because I was basically working in an ad agency and I wasn't really happy there. And on my side time, I was exploring stuff about using QR codes, using augmented reality, and using Unity 3D and Flash and stuff like that. And I had an opportunity to make a game jam one day, and I did the first prototype for my first game that will become later a typewriter. And with that, I decided to refocus on my studies. So I went to a video game school at that time. So I did a 1 year process, 1 year of work at Gobelin and Exhibions. And in this time, I had the chance to propose my prototype typewriter that became a student project. And then when we came out of the studies, we had the opportunity to showcase it to Arte. And Arte at that time was questioning themselves about, do we want to make video games, because they were already doing some interactive work like web documentaries and a lot of things online, and they were thinking about, okay, why not make video games? And we arrived with this game about the history of typography. So it was called Typewriter, and basically they say, okay, let's do it. Let's do that game. And so that's how I started 15 years ago.
Okay. Super cool. So it was kind of an accident, but you also were just generally interested in game development, Unity, building, and exploring online worlds.
I was really curious about how games are made. At that time, you hadn't there was not such things like Twitter or Instagram or TikTok. You'd have a few dev blogs online that were talking about indie games. There wasn't any indie games in that time. So yeah, I was really carving for information about how you do games, and I think that's one of the first things that pushed me to make one. I wanted to have the experience of making one. And we were super lucky because when the game came out, we had a lot of sales. We had a lot of coverage. It was 2013, so indie games hype was there. You had like something like Limbo or Braid, Deerster, a few indie games hits, but the hype was coming, so we were just right in time to launch the game. So Typewriter came out 10 years ago, a bit more, and we had the opportunity to sell to have 2 million downloads since.
Wow!
Because we had a lot of opportunities. We had in all the Starbucks, it was free. We had an opportunity to push it on PlayStation, so it was the indie game of the month at that time. So yeah, it was like the golden age of indie games at that time, and Typewriter was one of the hits. And after that, Arte was really enjoying to see that project being successful. So they asked me and the producer too, Arnaud Collina, to make a second one. So we thought about, do we make like a Typewriter 2? But no, we don't have enough things to say. Okay, let's create something from scratch. And I had this idea since a long time to create like a game about graffiti and street art, and to create like a infiltration game, like a stealth game, because it's more or less the same when you do street art, and I did a few back in the day. You need to focus, you need to adapt, you need to planify what you are doing. and to avoid being caught, of course. So I thought that was a good setting to make a video game about graffiti. So that's how we started to work on Vandals. We had a lot of art direction, a lot of gameplays, and at the end we decided to focus on like the turn-based video gameplay. Because Hitman Go was one of the recent hit, followed by Lara Croft Go. So that was like very mobile-friendly gameplays, very accessible. So I decided to go for that gameplay because I wanted to be accessible for everyone. So that's how we went for the turn-based infiltration gameplay.
Right. So in Vandals, you basically get to explore several different cities. So you can explore Berlin, Paris, New York, Sao Paulo, Tokyo. And within each of these cities, there is the opportunity to also explore street art and very unique graffiti. And you also can make your own artwork within the game. Yep. Tell me a bit about the process of making the game in terms of choosing which graffiti or street art would be featured in the cities. Where did the decision come from to allow players to make their own art as well?
Yeah. I in the first game, I talked earlier about Typewriter. We had the opportunity to collect pages from the book, and this book was the history of typography. So we went a bit with Vandals. We decided to make something a bit the same in Vandals, but with less text to read. But the idea was, okay, I want to pay homage to previous artists who made the graffiti and street art what it is today. So I had my favorite artist, of course, because I'm from Paris. I had the opportunity to work with Ernest Pignot-Ernest or people like that, or Blake Lerat or Invader. And I wanted to pay homage to all of them. So we contacted them. We had a lot of people who were interested because that was the first time someone was contacting them to be in a video game.
Right.
And yeah, everybody was really happy to be in that game. We offered them some fees, so it wasn't like a free participation. We paid them for that. And yeah, the idea was we have different cities, but we have different era. So it's not everything is not happening today. For example, Paris is doing the 70s and everything, and Berlin is doing the Cold War and everything. So we had those period of time. So we had a lot of constraints, but that's how we decided which artists were in the game. And after that, we just worked with a journalist. She wrote like all the little text that are talking about those artists, and to explain a bit about more about the tool we created. For me, graffiti and street art are like a free expression tool. So that was important for me, that in the game you could create everything you need. So at the beginning of the game, you enter your nickname, and then you can have like a generated graffiti based on your nickname. So you can choose different fonts and everything, or you can draw everything you want on the walls. So it was like a free expression wall within the game, that at the end you get a photograph of your graffiti, and you can share them on social medias. So yeah, for me that was like a logical decision to make, because you cannot push people with only one creation. You want to give them the tools to create what they want. So that's how we came out with this idea to create like a drawing tool on the walls.
And it's also very cool that you say, so each of these cities are kind of experiencing a different period in time. And so I think through Vandals, it's a really interesting way for players to experience and be introduced to different street artists and styles of graffiti, and also, historically speaking, different periods of time.
Yeah, I'm glad you to hear that because I always thought that you can learn and get some information about real world while playing a video game. And because I'm coming a bit from the documentary side, I did some web documentaries before. I always had this idea that you can have some snippets, some little extras of your in your gaming experience. You can have like those little things that you can reuse later. You can like talk about later, and it's
Right.
not just about gaming experience, but it's about learning and discovering things. So I think at the beginning I was very scholar, so it was like, okay, you collect a page from a book and then you can learn if you read the page from the book, but you are in a video game and you are not here to read books.
Right, exactly.
So if I do my game again today, maybe that won't be the same decision I would do, but at that period of time, for me, that was the best one because it was like, okay, we want to give something. It's not, you don't have to stop playing to read them. You can read them later. If you don't want to read them, you don't care. And if you want to read them, you will learn something. So that's something a bit tricky because some people say, okay, I'm just here to have fun. I don't want to get bored with text and
Right.
stories. I don't care. But for me, it's an important thing to add in a video game, especially with all the information and all the content you can have for free today. Maybe if we create games that have a meaning, that have something useful to say and to learn to people, it's important for us as a game creator, I think.
Yeah.
That's my idea of creating games today.
Yeah, and I also think that you can, as a player, learn in a game, indeed, as you just say, without having to like pick up a book within the game and read and educate yourself. So I think it's interesting what you say about learning in a game is possible in a kind of like a more covert way. There's many other ways to immerse yourself or engage with the world in which you are picking up things that are not just entertainment based or focused, but maybe you don't realize it at the time.
Yeah, the gameplay is supposed to do that. You can learn things by doing them. You can learn things by experiencing them. You can learn things by watching them happening in front of you. You can feel what someone feels in the difficult situation or time.
Right.
So that's for me like a great way to do that. It's not reading books, even if I did it in the past. But I'm pretty sure that video games have a lot of things to offer. And a game I played recently from a friend of mine, the game is called Wednesdays, and it's made by Pierre Corbinet, and it's the subject is really difficult, but it's called about child abuse and everything. But the way you play it, the way you experience the things from its point of view, is like I never seen that before, and it's not by reading a book about facts. It's just like being doing it by playing and doing it by being in the shoes of someone else.
Why are you excited to bring Vandals to the story for this edition of Bozar Arcade, and why do you think it fits in with the theme of urban playgrounds?
Good question. There's a lot of really good reason why I'm excited about all of this. First, it's a museum. It's like an institution. It's in the middle of the city, and the place is beautiful. The scenography is beautiful. The way they choose and display the games are really good, and they have a manifesto which is really accurate, in my opinion, about how we want to distribute and talk about games. So that's firstly, it's like being here is already something big for me. And about the theme, Urban Playground, I remember when I was doing some street art and graffiti, it was like, okay, I was considering like the city as a playground or as a blank canvas. So for me, that's totally accurate because you take the city and you make it yours. That's all the idea of the graffiti and street art, to make it yours. Okay, it's maybe the city is not for everybody, but you can make it yours by painting, by sticking, by making posters or stencils. So that's totally something that I relate to, because I consider like the city like as an urban playground. You can do installation, you can do like poetry, you can do street art, you can do living theater, you can do so much stuff that are possible in those spaces. And the beauty of it is you cannot know exactly what's going to happen with the people who are
Experiencing it.
experiencing it. So I really love the subject. I really love the way they the game they chose. I'm looking forward to see what is coming next in Bozar.
Me too. And I'm very excited to play your game.
Thank you.
And see it being played by others as well. Thank you so much, Theo.
Thank
it
you.
was such a pleasure to have you.
Same.
And congratulations on being here and being featured in Bozar Arcade.
Yeah,
I
it's
think,
great.
yeah, I mean, you're doing amazing work and it's
Merci beaucoup.
super, super cool. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Theo. I will see you in a couple hours to play your game.
Yes, of course.
Hello,
Hello.
Fernando. It is wonderful to have you here. I'm joined with yet another artist / game developer who is featured tonight at this edition of Bozar Arcade Urban Playgrounds. I am here with Fernando Ramallo. Hi, Fernando.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for
I'm
having
doing
me.
great. I'm honored to be filming this podcast at Bozar. So very, very happy to be here. Very excited about the opening this evening. Fernando, you are one of the game developers who is being featured this evening.
Yes, very prominently, very excited. Saw the setup today. It's very beautiful. Like the exhibition is great. So I'm very excited to be
That's
here.
awesome. I'm super happy for you. So, Fernando, tell us a little bit about your journey into games.
Yeah. So I went to school, like a program that was kind of like audiovisual design. So like a little bit of film, animation. I kind of like had a very broad interests early on about like mostly just like working with media, working with image, working with like audiovisual sort of content. And then I kind of like got into games, sort of like accidentally, like making games. I never really like planned for it, but
That's a common theme.
yeah. I mean, I always play them, but they was like, oh, actually, people do make games. This is something that actually people do. So,
Right.
I was living in Buenos Aires, and I started working for a games company, and and then that was right when there was this sort of like wave of independent kind of game developers, and this was kind of like a little bit before what we understand as indie games now. This was before there was like an industry for it. It was kind of like people started being able to make their own games in tools like Flash, or like Unity was just starting
Right.
out. And yeah, it felt like a little bit of a almost like an art like wave, like a little wave of artists that were looking at games and saying we could do different things.
Yep.
Now that you don't need an entire team of people to be able to like put a game online. We could do a game about depression, do a game about like pretty landscapes like the one I made.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of like I sort of like joined this sort of like wave of people trying to make interesting things with games. And yeah, that's a little bit of the context where Panoramical, the project that I'm showing, came along. This is a project that is on display now, but it's been around for 10 years already, right? Like we started it as this sort of like fun little experimental prototype that we would show, me and my friend David Canega, who made the music. We were showing it at festivals and like exhibitions that were not in museums but in around game conferences, right? There was a little bit of this circuit of there was a festival called Indicate that would happen in Los Angeles every year. And so that gave us the opportunity to just like meet other people that were also kind of like thinking of games in this more experimental way. And and then I kind of like got into the craft of video games, and without knowing, I was kind of like becoming a new media artist, but without having like, you know, like an artist education. I was just kind of like, you know, here are tools and software that I'm learning just to put images on a screen that just happen to be a game engine.
Right.
And I was sort of using those tools to just for me creating pretty pictures or interesting pictures or playing with, you know, game mechanics that were not as traditional, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the context where I had when I started working on Panoramical proper.
Yeah. So you've mentioned, and it's funny because this is like a really common theme. It's also something I often hear in my own work, that people just kind of like don't even realize that they've become a game developer until eventually they are called a game developer, and you're like, I guess that is what I do
I guess
now.
I am a game designer.
And so Panoramical is it's been around already for almost 10 years, like you have said. Was that your first major jump into turning to games as kind of an art form?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I had made multiple games before that I both in the context of a company, at my job. You know, I spent a couple of years working at a games company and releasing several games there. And then when I started working on my own, I released like multiple. Back in the day, we were making Flash games, right? And so I had the experience of like launching kind of like a game from start to finish, designing it myself, publishing online, you know. So that experience, like I had like a little bit of the context of finishing game, and the Panoramical became because for context, Panoramical is an installation, art installation that we were showing at these arts festivals, and then we spent 3 years making it into a commercial game released on Steam, right?
Yeah.
So this like the project has like these two lives as a game that you can only play at festivals, and then a game that was like you can download as a desktop computer game. And but that was sort of like my big game, like the big project that I did with my friend David. You know, like a big release especially in the sort of like this indie games community.
Exactly, because this was more of an independent project where the other ones were linked to the company that you were working for.
Either a company
before.
or I was doing like back in the day you can like make a Flash game where like we sold the rights to Adult Swim, for example, right? Like, and they would buy your game and then like publish them on their side and stuff like that. So yeah, it was like my big break. It felt like, and yeah, it was exciting. It was like, you know, it was fun to, you know, just really spend time crafting an experience that, you know, kind of had an imprint of what I felt like I wanted to say. In games.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me all about Panoramical.
Yeah, okay.
I want to hear all about it. So obviously you're exhibiting Panoramical, the game here this evening at Bozar Arcade.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind it, and what is your wish for the players to kind of take away?
Okay, yeah. Panoramical is a game where you don't have like win or lose conditions. You don't have like traditional objectives. Basically, what you're doing is there's like this kind of beautiful landscape that you're moving through, right? Like you're seeing like maybe some rocks, some clouds, but it's all very abstract and kind of like very aesthetic, sort of, and you know, like it's non-traditional colors. It doesn't really look like a photorealistic rendering, but it's more like an expressionist almost set of visuals. And you're kind of like as a player, you have access to all of these different kinds of controls, right? Like if you're playing it in a museum display, like here, you're using this kind of mixer board, right? Like you're not using like a normal games controller. You have this little like sliders, like these knobs that you can turn, and every time you turn a knob, you're changing one aspect of the landscape, right? Like maybe there's these sort of like cloud shapes, and they get bigger as you turn the knob higher. And at the same time, the sound is also changing. So those clouds also have a sound associated with it, right? And so you have basically like 18 different knobs,
Wow.
right? And all of them will change the way the landscape in front of you looks and sounds, right? And so that's kind of it in terms of what you can do.
Right.
But what that enables is this sort of experience where you're modifying the image in front of you, the sound. The camera is kind of like moving forward. You're kind of like watching this mesmerizing journey in front of you, and you can kind of like create a little bit of a journey for yourself, right? Like maybe you turn the clouds all the way down. Maybe you make this like thing that makes stars appear and then make them bigger. Maybe you do it very slowly, or maybe you do it very quickly. And, you know, it's very self-directed kind of play. And it's, you know, it's a little bit difficult to explain really what is so captivating about it. Because it's definitely like a game that comes from a context like the one we have here, where,
Right.
you know, it's like trying to describe what makes watching a movie in a movie theater immersive, right? Like it's kind of about the way that it's presented. Here we have like this beautiful like big screen. It's a dim lit room. There's like soft couches around, and you're playing with this controls that you don't really know what they're doing, but they're doing something, and you know there's sound enveloping the room. And so it's kind of like, you know, this sort of interactive experience that you just kind of like manipulate and play with and just find your own way.
Right.
And so yeah, that's what the game is. And it has like 8-9 different environments that you can play with, right? Like you can press a button and then it will kind of transition into the next one, so you can explore all of the possibilities of what this particular landscape gives you. And then when you're done, maybe you want to move to the next one, right? And yeah, so that's what the game's about.
What do you hope that the players get out of the experience after they've kind of like sat down in a cozy chair and are adjusting the controls and just playing around with how the environment looks?
Yeah. I mean, I think you know, there's several layers to it, right? Like, I mean, the first layer would be like just having an interesting experience, like playing something different that maybe you didn't expect, right? It's definitely a game that it works best in an environment like this, where you kind of like just stumble on it. You know, you're walking around a gallery and here's a couch and here's this strange controller, and then you're just kind of like trying to figure it out. And then yeah, I'm just hoping that, you know, people have like this aesthetic experience, and maybe they get like a little bit of a change in their perception of what's possible with video games, or
Right.
with just in general with like interactive media,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And then, you know, and then there's like deeper meanings to it for myself that are about, you know, noticing a lot of the visuals and the sensibilities of the design of the game for myself come from noticing kind of like beauty in natural environments. Like why is you know, a sunset kind of like captivating and this kind of like universal, or why is going up a mountain and then seeing a huge vista so captivating? Like that's some of the feelings that I've been trying to like capture into a game. So the environments are this sort of like abstract version of natural landscape. So there's mountains, but they're not really mountains. They're just
Right.
kind of like these shapes, right? And yeah, I don't know. I think there's something really meaningful about why we find that beautiful, why we find that captivating, and Panoramical is sort of like my way of kind of like capturing a little bit of that and kind of like trying to transmit that feeling of the way that I get mesmerized by leaves floating in the canal in Berlin, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
you know, it's just like this little thing, but it's kind of like a moment of beauty that I feel like there's something meaningful behind it, right?
Yeah, I also think it's number one, I just talked about this with Emma from Bozar. The next theme for Bozar Arcade is beauty.
I heard about this. Yeah, I'm
So
like,
this
oh
is
shit,
like-
it should have been in the next one.
This is perfectly segueing.
Yeah.
But I also think that beauty is something that's so subjective.
True.
And I think a player in this game can have so many different results from like turning the knobs and adjusting the environment and experiencing different like forms of beauty in a very subjective way. I think your game just so perfectly fits within the urban playgrounds theme because it really is just playing around with landscapes and your surroundings. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think the societal importance of being able to kind of like explore your surroundings in a way that maybe you couldn't do in real life? What's so important about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what comes up for me is this idea of like connecting to nature. If I think of like an urban space, it's this sort of like we made a hole in the forest and put like concrete on it, and I think like any opportunity to sort of play around with the space around you, even if it's in this like virtual way, kind of like I hope that it creates this sort of like feeling of reconnecting with, again, bringing it back to like what you find beautiful about nature is, I feel in Panoramical, it's almost like it's like a first person game, but you're not playing the player that's walking around, you're playing the environment, right? And so I don't know, like I think like there's something about giving people control of what the environment is and letting them pick what they like and what they find beautiful. I don't know. I'm hoping it makes them sort of like rethink the space around them, and, maybe bringing a little bit more nature. Maybe it's like putting some plants in your apartment or something, just because like I'm like, oh, I like the shapes of leaves and plants,
right? Or like I
play
like
them in
this
Panoramical, so I'm like decorate my space with nature.
Yeah. Like I like this aesthetic in Panoramical. Let me take this and kind of like recreate it in my own
I love
physical
that, yeah.
space.
Yeah, send me pics of all your flats after playing Panoramical.
Yeah, everybody out there, if you play Panoramical and readjust your space accordingly, please send it to us.
Or maybe just you just walk into the forest and that's it. Yeah,
or do that.
Cool. That'd be nice.
Touch some grass.
Yeah.
So what's next for you in the game space? After tonight at Bozar Arcade, what are you hoping to do next within the space of games?
Yeah, well, like it's funny, like we, Panoramical was shown in a lot of festivals and museums over the years, and there was a little bit of a lull in the last few years, and then when Bozar invited me to show it, it's kind of like it was a little bit like dusting off an old project and bringing it back, but that actually kind of like triggered a little bit of like reconnection with my old partner that made the music, and we've been meeting for a while, and then we've been making some new content for the game and kind of like rethinking like what's a next life that we can give to Panoramical or to projects like it, maybe in the space of performance or new content. And then for myself, I've been part of my practice also involves, aside from using computer graphics to make kind of like beautiful things, is working on the tools to making kind of like creative work using games technology. And so I've been I've been like making some interesting developments with finding creative flow in the software that I use, and so some of that is coming up.
Thank you so much for being here, Fernando.
For having me.
It's a pleasure. Can't wait to see you later at Bozar Arcade.
Sounds good.
And congratulations on being featured.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, super honored, and David and I are very excited, and we're very happy to be in Brussels and be hanging out with you all.
Yes, I hope you have some fries while you're here.
I hope so too.
I hope you have some fries. Try the samurai sauce.
Samurai sauce. Okay,
it's delicious.
I'll remember that.
It's a little bit spicy.
Okay, I can handle that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
And we will see you for one last game developer coming up in just a second. I am joined with our last digital creator and game developer / artist of today's podcast session, Adam Clarke. Adam, it's super great to have you here.
It's amazing to be here, to be honest. Yeah. I'm thrilled.
I feel the same. I feel very honored to be able to be here.
Yeah.
Adam, welcome. You are exhibiting your work this evening at Bozar Arcade Urban Playgrounds. Just to start off, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you ended up in this space. I know that's a very, very big question.
Yeah.
How you ended up in games and what you're up to currently.
Yeah. So, it's a long story. I mean, I'm in my 50s, which is kind of like, and I play Minecraft for a living.
I love that for you.
Okay,
Keep going.
It's like, hello, my name is Adam Clarke, and I play Minecraft. It's like an AA meeting, but for Minecraft players. I play. I've been playing and making Minecraft content for the last since the beginning of Minecraft, really.
Wow.
And it all really started when my first real big break for that was I made some museum stuff for Tate Britain. That you could walk into. You could basically walk into a painting and turn the corner, and we created paintings that were 3D, which talked a little bit about why a painting was up on the wall, so you could meet the artist, you could kind of find out some of the stories behind that kind of stuff. So we made things accessible and educational and fun and playable. And I think I haven't really stopped since then.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things so I'm an artist, I'm a digital artist as well. I love drawing and painting. I come from kind of a drawing and painting kind of background, but computers and play has always been part of my kind of personality. And then Minecraft comes along and I think, oh, this is exciting.
Yeah. How did you get started with Minecraft, actually?
It was interesting. I'd been working, so I've been a teacher. I've worked with adults with autism as an arts instructor. I've done art therapy. So I've got this kind of really great community arts background, but that's kind of practical stuff. We would go into forests, do mask making, things like this. So I've got all these kind of like community art skills. And then my passion was kind of like drawing and painting, but also game making and playing. So I was brought up with it. I'm the generation with a BBC microcomputer, coding BASIC in my bedroom. That's where I come. There's LX81. All those kind of games were for me, and I was lucky enough to kind of be able to play around with that stuff. So that's my background, and so these kind of worlds collided in my 30s, where I was able to combine both of these things together to make a kind of weird career out of it.
Yeah. It's super cool. And speaking of Minecraft, so here at Bozar Arcade, you are exhibiting a digital recreation of this building, of Bozar, in Minecraft.
It's such an extraordinary architectural building with a great history, and I was approached by Bozar by the curators of it, and they were like, what can you do? And so we talked about recreate the difference between recreation, because it's not if you want an architecture, you might make something in Unity, or you make something. Why make it in Minecraft? Because it's not one to one. It's an interpretation. It's kind of a soft-bodied. It's not quite Lego. It's not
Yeah.
So, but Minecraft offers us. There's an imaginative midway between what we see and what we feel and what we kind of how we receive that information. This is where I get my art, capital Art with an A on it. So this morning, for example, I've never been here. This is the first time I've actually been to this this place.
Right.
So before that, obviously, we spent about 6 months sort of on this project, but about 2 months really kind of building it in Minecraft. And there was a lot of kind of I've got a small team of people who kind of do detailing things. I'm a great broad brush stroker,
right?
So I do the big, this is how it's going to be. This is the size we're going to do, and we often start with a grey build, really to kind of get. Is that high enough? Is that wide enough? Does it feel like when we're walking in it in Minecraft? Does that feel good? And then we iterate from there, just like most games. Okay. And then we do styling and we do color textures and palettes. And in Minecraft, of course, you've got a melon, right? But we don't see a melon, we see green. Or we see, so different textures and blocks become a palette of usable materials within this kind of stuff. This morning I was following my map, on my phone. I was like, okay. And then I recognized a wall because I'd seen it so many times in Minecraft.
How cool is that?
It's amazing.
That's insane.
The hairs on the back of my neck lifted up a little bit, and I just got really tingly. I put my phone away, and I knew that round the corner I'd see the entrance. I knew exactly where I was.
Yeah.
Mainly because the bit that we're talking about was like, you've done this wrong, and you had to redo it again and again. Because it's not level, and we had it, and it's, so, but I did recognize it, and that was amazing.
Yeah. What a cool way to enter a building.
Yeah.
You're like, I've already made this before in Minecraft.
I've been here.
So I've been here digitally. When you exhibit this digital recreation of the building this evening, what do you hope that the audience or players take away from engaging with that digital version?
I always I hope people are inspired. And I think one of the great things about Minecraft is that it's a great leveler. And what I mean by that is, when you bring Minecraft into a group session or into a classroom or something like that, what you find is the quiet students have a voice and the loud students quieten down. And it levels everything out because there's a kind of concentrated aura that starts emerging because we're all like, we're moving around a three-dimensional space. We're starting to make decisions about, what blocks we should use, what kind of color palette. We're looking and thinking and doing and playing. And all those things happen at the same time. You get into that kind of lovely, delicious alpha state and you start making. So one of the things I really hope for and I'm really excited about is how people do respond to this space. So we've essentially recreated two Bozars. One is an untouchable one. So you go in and you can't change anything. You go in, you meet, so there's a meet and greet person there, says, welcome, come in, go this way. And we've also done it in 4 different languages because we're, so that's it. And the great thing is there's a great localization element to this. And there's code and all sorts of stuff going on in the background. So you can go in, you meet people, you meet a couple of NPCs. They tell you what this place is, why it is like it is, who the architect was, and some of the kind of significant bits. And then right at the end of that experience, very short, it's very linear, someone says, now it's over to you. What do you want to build? Where do you want to go? Press this button and we'll teleport you to the destructible version, where you're suddenly in creative mode. You can fly about, you've got access to everything except TNT and a few other bits and pieces, and you can just recreate to your heart's content. What we've done is, and then you can and I encourage people to take screenshots. You use a little middle button on the controller, and you take a screenshot, and then hopefully Bozar will put that onto their socials. And then you can just leave it. 2 minutes later, if you're AFK, the whole thing resets.
Yeah.
All of your work disappears, and it's ready for a new player. So it is destructible, but it's a non-destructible, creative, playful space. I don't want anybody to feel precious about anything they build. So be playful and be ambitious and be silly and have fun. There are several approaches, I think, to Minecraft and how to do storytelling and how to do playful engagement. One of the simplest ones is recreation. This build is representational. You've just walked into this building and you're walking into it again in Minecraft. And I think that's what excited me the most about doing it and having an exhibition about it. That's a first. I've never really done that. I might have recreated let's do the Eiffel Tower, but you're playing it in your bedroom.
And you don't walk in and you're like, oh, I know where to turn at this moment.
I've just walked into this hallway.
Right.
That is so meta and so extraordinary. That's going to be very exciting. And I hope I hope people get a real buzz out of that.
Yeah.
I hope that people just take pictures on their phone of where they've just come in and take pictures of their phone inside of Minecraft. That duality is really extraordinary. Yeah.
What do you have to say to the people out there who might be thinking, this could be interesting, this whole idea of digital recreations of a space and in Minecraft? What do you think the power or kind of like the opportunity here is in terms of exploration?
I'll give you two examples. I'll give you the one that happened during COVID, where I was invited to. There was some city planners who wanted to shut down a road in Glasgow, and we recreated that road in Minecraft. And they got the local school to come in and reimagine as much as they could do what could happen with this road. So there were like tree houses, there were swimming pools, there were playgrounds, there were some extraordinary imaginative things. And I think when we apply our imagination to real spaces or virtual spaces that could coexist with real spaces, we get these really rich, extraordinary, imaginative results that then we can kind of pick and choose. So we can kind of use that art school idea of like, look, we've got 100 ideas. What are the best 50? And then we scale down. We kind of might develop those a bit more. And then let's develop the best 10 out of that and then develop those. And then you might come up with 1 or 2 or 3 really extraordinary, great stuff that is owned by the people who live there.
Right.
So that sense of autonomy and ownership and place and identity all marries together in a delicious, playful way. That if you've got the right kind of group pushing it forward, then it doesn't feel like teaching and learning. It feels like playful, thinking and creativity. So that's one. Another one, which is a free workshop for anybody. Okay, so this is your opportunity. One of the best workshops I've ever done, and I continue to do, is an intergenerational project using Minecraft. And anybody can do this at home. So what you do is you have to train your kid or a young person to ask open questions and get an elderly relative or someone like that. So the kid says, when you were my age, what was your bedroom like? What colour was the wallpaper? How big was your bed? And describe it in as much detail as possible. And then the young person then goes and makes that in Minecraft. And then once they've made it in Minecraft, they go back to the elderly person. They say, look, I've made this in Minecraft. And they do a tour of the thing. And at that moment, you get this intergenerational conversation around this virtual space that came out of this interview process, where the young persons can iterate depending if they've made a mistake or, my lamp wasn't on that side, it was on this side, or the carpet, we need a bit more carpet, can you put that in? And you start to get this really rich conversation where Minecraft isn't any more of a game that's distracting your young people. It's about history and place. And people get a bit teary and stuff like that because it's about memory and childhood.
Yeah, and it's nostalgic too. Exactly. Earlier, when I was talking to Emma from Bozar itself, she also said that it's one of the reasons it's so special to bring games into Bozar and with the Bozar Arcade project is that exactly what you say. It can bring together people from all generations and also for perhaps older generations provide an understanding of what games really mean and what they can mean to young people in not just a way that it's purely there for entertainment, but that we can actually learn about each other through games.
Yeah, it's something I return to again and again. And I even like when I do it, I remember recreating my own bedroom as a child, and that's and I made a little video about this. And there's a nostalgia-ness and but also a kind of a tender kind of therapy to that as well.
Yep. I think we're perfectly segueing into the direction of games not as just, of course, it's awesome to play fun games, but games not as only entertainment focused, but also games for good, games for some kind of societal impact.
Yeah.
And I know that you're very passionate about games for good, games for impact. So I wanted to hear more from you about the power that games have in 2025.
Yeah. I'll go. There's really a couple of really interesting examples. So the one that I'm just doing at the moment is there's a game, a Minecraft game called Help the Hellbender. And a Hellbender is a giant salamander found in North America, and it's under threat at the moment. And I've been working with Texas Tech University and Purdue University with all of the experts there. And the most exciting thing for me is I come in as a complete and outsider about all these topics, but I get to learn as if I was just an average person about some of the issues, some of the kind of, what's going on. So with the game that I've just made for them, you learn about the hellbender, you learn about its habitat, how it breathes, why it's under threat, and then you go and collect some eggs, which is what they do. They go and collect because 90% of the eggs that don't actually survive in the wild. So what they do an intervention thing where they go and collect eggs, they rear those until they're ready to re-release into the wild. And that means that there's a larger population that goes back into the wild. So basically, that's exactly what we do in the game. And when you then re-release those eggs into the wild, you turn into a hellbender yourself. And
I just love that the name of this animal is a hellbender. I thought that was like not real. I'm obsessed with that.
It is extraordinary.
Okay, so you become a hellbender.
So then you become a hellbender, and also earlier on, you've also talked to different landowners. So there's a rancher, there's a farmer, and then there's a building constructor, and there's a mini game which is really about what things can they do to improve the river? So there's several kind of things. And there's benefits and disadvantages both for the river, the hellbender, and also, so it's about balancing nature and human beings together. So there's never a good answer, but it's what's the best one for us in the long run. And again, if you're looking after the natural world, you're looking after yourself and your future and the future generations, and that's a kind of a clear message we have going through. Before that, I did some work with the Crown Estate, and we did about wind power energy and conservation stuff there. And then before that, I've done 3 different Minecraft maps with the International Judo Federation, which sounds judo, a martial art, but in actual fact, judo's got some. It's got a philosophical backbone. It's got like 8 tenets that are kind of soft, what we would call soft skills. So friendship, honor, courage. All these kind of soft skills we try and explore within these Minecraft maps. And so we give people, rather than the judo stuff and the fighting stuff, we give them the skills that aren't often seen within judo. And those maps, we call them maps, the saves or whatever, we've put them onto the Minecraft marketplace. So anybody around the world can download these for free. Microsoft brilliantly, during COVID, thought to themselves, we don't actually give any educational stuff away for free. We'll actually start doing that. So that was great for me because it meant that I could actually give this stuff away for young people. And so people who want to do games for good could come to me and say, we're really interested in providing this. And there's some hoops and brand stuff that we've got to go through. But it does mean that we can kind of, in terms of like production funding and all this kind of stuff, we can actually make games that provide really positive, interesting outcomes for a global audience. And a lot of these Minecraft experiences have been downloaded over sort of 10 million times globally. So they've done good numbers, and it's because they're free, but it was also because they're a high quality, narratively driven experiences that young people really enjoy.
What do you hope will be the outcome, or one of the outcomes of Bozar Arcade tonight? So we are at the Center for Fine Arts here in Brussels, games are coming in, the audience is able to play and explore and engage with immersive experiences. What is your personal wish for tonight as an exhibitor / what do you wish for the audience to feel?
I mean, one of the things is there's not enough of these experiences around. And what I hope people will get is a taste of it, and they will want more of the same. Because making games it's quite a lot of effort, but I think making art is also quite a lot of effort. And I think the two things go hand in hand. And I personally, I come from that kind of, I don't want to. I've shied away from commercial stuff, and that's why I kind of tend to do more educational stuff.
Right.
But I think there is room for games as art, games that speak to us, and games is a strange word as well. These more of digital experiences, or even digitally driven experiences. So they could be paper and card, but they've got electronics behind it. So we've kind of got some interactivity going on there. And I think those kind of things, especially now we've got to, the young people growing up now who are mums and dads starting to come up, they've always had nearly the internet in their experiences. And I think we're into a different age. And I think this is the age where, we can... instead of canvas and paint, we can have, as well as that, we can have digital experiences alongside of it.
Thank you, Adam. It's been such a pleasure to have you here.
It's been great.
And I'm
Thank you.
Really excited to explore your digital recreation of Minecraft, of Bozar in Minecraft, and also just chat with you and the other game developers and artists at Bozar Arcade this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone tuning in to this special edition crossover episode of Game for Thought at Bozar. If you liked this episode and you want to hear more about games and digital technology, and also the kind of societal themes and meaning that it can have in the real world, follow this channel and watch more of our podcast episodes. We've covered topics like accessibility in games, sustainability, mental health and crunch culture, dark design patterns, and more. And take a look at Bozar. Take a look at Bozar's website, follow them on social media, and stay tuned for the next Bozar Arcade that is focusing on the topic and theme of beauty coming up this spring. And with that, I will leave you, and we will get ready for this evening's edition. Bye, everyone.